Now that we have a good number of questions in our question library, we're ready to actually create a quiz that uses these questions. So if you're still in the question library, you can always click Done Editing Questions. And that'll take us back to the main landing page within the Quizzes tool, where we can see that we do have the option for New Quiz. So when we create a quiz, we'll always start by giving it a title. In this case, maybe we have a few weeks combined to create an online quiz. And what we're able to do under the quiz questions area, because we've already created them in the question library, we're simply going to pull them into this particular quiz. And remember, one of the advantages of the library is that the questions can also be easily used in a subsequent test later on, perhaps a final exam. If you hadn't created questions in the question library first, you would be able to create brand new questions here, but then they would only live within this particular quiz, and it would require extra steps to move them elsewhere. So they're less portable. I could, however, as you see here, add questions or sections. If I'm interested in importing from the question library, though, where I know these questions already exist, then instead you'll click on this Import button and browse Question Library. This is where organization in the question library really helps. If you've got things separated into sections, which are essentially folders, then you can select an entire folder at a time and expand that to confirm that all those questions have come over. I can also unselect single items. But when I'm happy with that, I'm able to click Add. And now those are included in my quiz. Previously, when we created a new section in the question library, I mentioned that you can randomize or shuffle the questions within that folder. We just imported this from the question library. If we didn't set up shuffling previously, we do still have the ability to do that now. If I click on week 10, it takes me in, for this particular quiz, to the edit screen for this section, and I can, for instance, shuffle the questions in this section. So they'll appear in a different order for students. You can see that's indicated here. Now, the other advantage of setting up the question library was that it enables a feature called a pool, a question pool. So what we would do is we would click on Add and select the question pool option. We'll give that question pool a title. These, for instance, are the week 11 questions. We would browse the question library to select all of the possible questions that a student might receive. In this case, we can see that there are 5. And once you've selected the total number of possibilities, you can then indicate how many a particular student will get. So in this case, we only want one question from week 11, let's say, for each student. When you're done importing questions from the question library, we can click on Back to Settings. And we can now see which of those questions have been pulled, how many total points are available on this quiz. We can see visual indicators for things like shuffling. And in the case of a random question from a question pool, we don't see the exact question that a student would get, but we do see that they'll get one of 5 possible options. You'll also see here, as we're viewing our question list, there is an indication of which page each question will appear on. So if you wanted to have one question per page, we could apply that up above by saying 1 and then clicking Apply. And you can see now that each question indicates that it will be on a separate page. Now these will be shuffled in a random order, but each one will appear on a page separate from the next. If you had a few questions that you wanted to group together, you could do that by manually selecting the lines between these questions to either remove or add that page break. In this case, we'll set every question to be its own page. And you can also determine whether or not you want the student to be able to go backwards after they've completed a question.